Come and take a class at the Alteration.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Alter Academy. Today we have another special guest showcasing what many people have exclaimed a dead deck this set. May I introduce Taris Black on Ruby Amethyst. How are you doing today, Taris?
How's it going? I'm doing good. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people think Ruby Amethyst is dead, and I don't think that's the case. It definitely got knocked down a peg, that's for sure. Power level of other decks have definitely made continued to make their way up, while Ruby Amethyst kind of just has to adapt with previous sets. But well, I don't think we're out of the game yet.
Got it, yeah, understood. Now, I first noticed you on the Lorcana scene way back in set 2 piloting a 7 Dwarves Whole New World aggro 0 to hero deck, which was probably the most fun deck I've ever played in Lorcana to date. There's just something about playing like 6 characters out on like turn 3 or 4 and just zooming to 20. It was so I appreciate you making those type of decks and sending those out because I've had a lot of fun watching you from afar. So glad to finally engage with you here today.
Heck yeah, yeah. And I mean, man, I miss. I thought you were gonna say red purple for set two, but I'm so glad you brought up the dwarf deck, because when I put that together, I loved it so much. I wanted it to like be so good, and like I did so good in testing, and then literally first week of locals, um, I run into a bunch of red blue, and they just like speed ramped to B prep and like destroyed me, because
Yeah,
we didn't have Pete or anything at that time, so
right.
uh, pretty tough.
All right, Terrace. With the onslaught of Sapphire Steel and Amethyst Steel in the past few weeks, what have you been doing deck construction wise to combat these?
Yeah, so um, we kind of figured that for red purple to even have a chance to survive against the strength that Sapphire kind of got this set. We knew red purple would have to adapt in more of an aggressive stance compared to when it could be traditional and defensive like last set. Um, and so we kind of messed around with a lot of different burn ideas, your typical super goose, knowledge and wisdoms, thieveries, roses, any card that can kind of gain you lore in a way that your opponent can't necessarily interact with. We were like trying all sorts of versions of that, and just none of them really worked out well, mainly because if you're running a bunch of actions and such that kind of gain you lore, yeah, you have your ability to kind of burst out that lore, but in a lot of circumstances you'll find yourself where you play all those cards out and then your hand is just kind of empty, and you're just kind of praying for top decks, which is why people were playing the Chromacon. But now it's like, if you give these decks even more gas with Chromacons, like you're just kind of speed running their win con even more, just because they can cheat things out with items and such now. um so we couldn't really go the action burn route, and for whatever reason, when we were cooking up and play testing, my brain was like, what if I just slam a bunch of like small locations? Like, what can they do about that? And we tried that idea out, and it seemed like a meme at first, but it kind of started to stick and actually started to work and play test. And so that's kind of what I continued to run with, and have continued to play test since then.
Yeah, and I kind of agree here with you because I've played a lot of Sapphire Steel in the past few weeks, and dealing with locations is one of the biggest weaknesses to the deck. So I can see how this is working for you.
Yeah, it's funny when especially when I played at the 10 case in SSG, where it goes turn one, I drop a ferry ship, and they're like, oh, okay. And then turn two, I'm like, okay, here's a mountain, and they're like, oh, all right. They're like, well, I don't know, now I got to completely pivot what I was trying to do to figure out how to deal with these. And when you're just playing mono purple after that, you kind of just get to keep the gas going, and by the time they deal with it, you get to start slamming more of them down. So
Yeah,
it gets like fun reactions out of people.
got it. And tell me about the inclusion of Dragonfire here. I have not seen that card in Ruby Amethyst for quite some time.
Yeah, so Dragonfire is a very recent include. There's a couple people that like have been messaging me like their play test results and kind of what they've been messing around with, and one of them can't remember the name off the top. I'm sorry, but uh, but they were running Dragon Fires, and I thought that was interesting, and so I wanted to go ahead and give it a try because originally the list didn't even have Maui in it. But then by the time we went to SSG, we kind of put Maui in the list because he's just a great card all around, can kind of also help on the draw situations, and I was playing him, but then recently I started trying taking him out and playing Dragonfire in its place. And since it's such a low to the ground list, there's a lot of cases where you can just play Dragonfire and then, drop a location or drop a small character afterwards, like throughout the game. But there's so many things in the meta right now that they already do ETB effects. Like the last thing you need them to do is also go sideways
Mm-hmm.
in quests, which is why I loved, having Elsa last set, because she just was such a powerhouse for getting rid of characters that just got played. But we can't really, like, Elsa doesn't really get rid of much threats, and we don't want to like challenge a ton, like if we can help it with this deck. So Dragonfire ended up being um, a kind of surprise tech that actually helps manage these these crabs and other big characters that we're seeing now, that we just don't want them to get that second effect off.
Yeah, you really don't want one of those crabs to live a turn. So I understand
No.
that. All right, well, let's get into some hand alteration simulations, what everybody's here for. So let's say we are blind on the play. Walk me through your
Mm.
thought process here on what you're altering and why.
Okay, so we won the dice roll, we're on the play. Do we know what the matchup is or no?
We do not. It is a blind matchup.
Okay, yeah. So, in terms of blind matchups, I think um, at this point, what I kind of tend to do a lot, and I actually do really like this hand,
Mm-hmm.
is I would most likely only throw back like one of the libraries just for redundancy's sake, and then one of the fairy ships. So I think when a lot of people start play testing this deck, they're just already gonna, no matter what, like, oh, I'm going first, I want to slam a fairy ship turn one. And while like in certain matchups that can be like really, really strong, since we don't know what the matchup is, it's always best in Ruby Amethyst to just start with a super consistent beginning. So we have the Diablo, we have the Cusco, we can bounce one of them, to trade something with the Fox, or just have the Fox, ready to go. And then we have the library ready to go for turn four, and then kind of go from there and already have a rabbit, ready to go as well. So I think you just always kind of on the play, not knowing the matchup, want to go for consistency. So that's why I would just throw away the fairy ship and the library. But I could see a case where you just throw one of the libraries, um, just to, you know, we know what we're inking fairy ship turn one. So actually, I think we just throw one library here.
Got it. Okay. Then
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that works really well. So yeah, we would just ink the fairy ship turn one. We play Diablo, see what their deck is, and then based on that, we can decide whether or not the Queen or the Cusco ends up being the better two drop here.
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense and should get you through turn four pretty easily rehearsed in that alteration one. So I think this is a
Yeah,
pretty winnable game for sure. All right, let's move into blind on the draw this time.
blind on the draw. Okay, so not too mad about this either. Honestly, I'm probably only throwing back the goat and the B prep. So B prep's kind of obvious. We don't want to B prep in our opening hand this early. I don't think you'd ever want to B prep in the
Right.
opening hand. Um,
There were a few times in Ruby Sapphire where I have kept a B prep in the opening hand, but yeah, not
Yeah,
it's
Ruby
not
Sapphire
yet.
definitely makes sense. I think last set there was one game where I did keep it in my opening hand, but that's because I was playing the hand Sisu we see here, but then also the big one, and I knew
Right.
I was playing against an aggressive deck. So I was like, if I keep the Sisu shift line into potential B prep, whatever it may be, then that could be really strong. But yeah, 99.9% of the time you're always throwing back the B prep. And here once again,
Yeah,
You don't want your plan. You're on the draw. We want to go for consistency. We have our one drop into two, and into three drops. Sing friends, right?
right,
And and we're going to keep the redundant Diablo just because what you want to do with this deck is splice in just whenever you can to fill out the curve with these like one and two drop characters that just replace
right.
themselves. So yeah, you can use that extra Diablo in a future turn. Maybe turn four, you go, uh, three drop Diablo, like just go wider.
Yeah, and I do want to point out with you sending back Goat, this is one of my biggest pet peeves when I am coaching people. Everybody wants to keep Goat. Goat is not one of these cards you want ever early. Goat is like, I want to top deck this at 15, 16
Hmm.
lore and finish the game with it. So,
Yeah, yeah,
love.
most definitely. And I've been trying to mentally when playing this deck more often think of Go as an uninkable card.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not mad.
Yeah. And so I'm curious
Because
here,
then,
would you
yeah.
prefer to Cusco on two or double Diablo? Now,
I think because of how little uninkables there are in this deck, I think you're actually kind of able to go Diablo, double Diablo, and never ink that Cusco, and then just kind of the same thing I was just saying, be able to splice in these characters as you play.
yeah.
Now that Cusco, you can just find the space for it. Um, so yeah, I can see going Diablo into double Diablo. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so let's go on the play into currently the big bad deck of the format, Sapphire Steel.
Okay, so Sapphire Steel items, I'm guessing,
Yeah,
or just like,
we'll say it's like the Zan item list that's been popular.
okay. Yeah, so a lot of people, and myself included, kind of thought maybe in that matchup, if you slam a bunch of like locations early, it's not bad. I would say Mountain is pretty strong. Mountain into Library is pretty strong for 2-3, but um, the Fairy Ship, unless, and you're saying we're on the play or the draw?
The play.
On the play, okay. So on the play, maybe you could do a Fairy Ship on one, but Um, it's interesting, but typically I try to just go like a one drop character, Diablo specifically. Um, let's see. So definitely throwing back a brawl. Throwing the reason why we're throwing the brawl, even though they're playing Hiram, is because typically my play style, and what tends to work better with this deck is trying to almost see it as like an aggro deck that has like these red cards to help back it up in the late game.
Right.
So you're wanting to be as aggressive as possible early. And on three, I'd rather play like multiple characters or like a fairy ship mountain rather than, worrying about a Hiram. Because I've had games where I've let their Hiram sit there and draw twice. And it just didn't matter, just
Yeah.
because I was just so aggressive early. So yeah, we're throwing back the brawl, and I think we just try to curve out here. I would throw essentially everything on the left side away and just keep Queen and Sisu.
Yeah.
And we're just fishing for one drop, maybe a location or something here. We have a lot of 4 health characters, so those are nice. And yeah,
All right, let's see what we get here.
okay, yeah, not mad at that. So yeah, and you said we're on the play.
Yep, we are on the play here.
Yeah. So to be fair, if this is game one, they don't know what you're playing. I'd definitely go uh, Ink Brawl, play Fairy Ship, or do I Ink the Brawl? That's interesting. Because yeah, I would probably test them and just go full like location
Yeah.
curve,
If because
and
it
just see like what do you have? Because like they need a hand that's ready for a Fairy Ship, Mountain, and Library.
yeah, and if they miss
Because
Bell, they're just done.
yeah, exactly. If they miss Bell, they're kind of cooked. And the strong thing about these locations to be able to do this curve, and because a lot of people go, "Oh, Fair Ship's only got 4." I mean, thankfully, it doesn't get one shot by the bell, but you can kind of think of it mentality wise of your opponent. If you go Fairy Ship 1, all their focus is on getting rid of the fairy ship.
Right.
And then on 2, if you go mountain, the fairy ship now goes invisible to them, and they go full focus on the mountain. And then you go library, and now your fairy ship and mountain are not a priority whatsoever, and they have to get rid of the library.
Yeah.
So it's like they almost like kind of bodyguard each other when you curve them out. So
Right.
in this route, I would definitely test my opponent and just kind of go location curve and say, what do you have?
Yeah, and I think you've got it spot on the head here. If as long as they don't have that bell, you're smooth sailing on that fairy ship to victory.
Hmm.
All right, let's go on the draw against Sapphire Steel. Same deck.
Okay. I probably just like throw everything that's not a location here and just try to find those 1 and 2 drop characters.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, great. Yeah. I'm totally cool with this. Yeah, go Diablo 1. Um, and that's the reason why my list only has like 3 Chernobyls instead of like 4, is because man, when you go Chernobog and they go turn 1 Bell, you're like, well, now I have to like just pop this Chernobog. Whereas
Yeah.
before, like in other metas, you could play like you want to play Chernobog on 1 and then just quest it and say, okay, either trade into it if you have the character and we 1 for 1, or it just gets to sit here for another turn. But this meta just does not allow that as often. So, I would definitely probably ink. mm, what would I ink here? Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe it's another game where you just kind of go location curve, not play library on 3. Hopefully, we get like a 2 or a 3 drop that we can play on 3 instead, and then set up the library for turn 4,
Yeah.
and I'll kind of go that kind of curve there.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Let's go into the uh, Ruby Sapphire on the play.
Both dragon fires, beautiful.
I'll
Yeah,
just
throwing both of those
I'll
back
throw them away right away.
immediately. Um, yeah, so Ruby Sapphire is like once you like understand how to play this deck and leverage the cards, like the locations and such. Ruby Sapphire is like, unless they get the most godly curve, the most godly draws, you can just destroy them over every time. So this time, because they don't really have most of them, they're not playing like the bells anyways. I'm probably just shipping. I'm actually thinking like just shipping in the Dragonfires here.
Yeah, I mean, keeping all the 1-drops is always good in my book. So I kind of
Yeah,
am
yeah,
agreeing with you here.
yeah, and like they're you want to use them a lot to just keep cycling, to keep finding momentum, more gas, more locations to drop, and I see no problem having 2 of either, because then it also lets you go turn 1 1 drop, turn 2 mountain, turn 3 you know uh maybe a 2 drop, 1 drop, or even like turn 2 just going double 1 drop, and then turn 3 going mountain 1 drop.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Let's see what we get from this.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Essentially, you can against red blue, you can just mono purple them the entire time, and
Yep.
they'll lose.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then you just use cards like Dragonfire to take out a Maui that they played, or take out a crab that they played. But yeah, most of the time you can like mono purple them the entire game, and then force them to be prep, and then you just like drop more locations on them.
Yeah, and if they miss Tipo, the 1-drop into double 1-drop is going to get you just to 10 lore right off the bat.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do a Ruby Sapphire on the draw now. All right, I'll get ahead of you here.
I honestly feel like this is like the exact same situation.
Yeah.
Like you just throw back the 2 big uninkable red cards and say, I want to play all purple, and then see if you can get more purple cards.
All right, let's do it.
And we do, yeah. So how would I curve this? So I would go turn 1 Diablo, turn 2 Mountain. If they haven't taken out your Diablo, uh, quest, or I could even see like on turn 2 if they go Tipo, you don't quest with the Diablo just so that you can go, because they'll probably quest with the Tipo, because the Diablo can't trade. So you go turn 1 Diablo, turn 2 quest with Diablo. If they don't play Tipo, if they play Sail or something, if they play Tipo, don't um, quest with it. Turn 3 quest with it. Use Fox to bounce it back. And even if it doesn't trade into anything, you're specifically doing that. So then on 4, you can set up Sing Friends, play Library, attach Fox, and now you've immediately put like a draw engine together.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, let's get into Amethyst Steel on the play.
Amethyst Steel. Yeah, so Amethyst Steel is definitely one where you need to contest board early and splice in locations when you can. So here I would maybe only keep location wise, only keep the library, because for any deck that can still be tough to get rid of if they don't have the right cards. Um, and it lets you draw off of like doing the trades that you're going to need to do early in that matchup, anyways. So, um, what am I looking for on 3? Probably Crab, and then turn 4 Library attached. So maybe I would throw back Sisu as well, just because I already know what I'm going to play on 3 is most likely going to be the Crab.
Got it.
So I would throw those 3 back and see if we can get some more low to the ground characters.
All right, let's see if we can, and we do.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Dreamborn's being nice to us today.
Love
Whenever
to
I
see
do
it.
this on my own time, it's like giving me the opposite of everything. But yeah, I like this hand, and we have the brawl because most likely Purple Steel's playing Genie, so we have that if we need it. Just because our deck has like really no other way to get rid of them. Um, but yeah, so we have a curve here. We go 1 drop into Cusco, and then we crab. Let Cusco do a trade, draw you a card, and then you set up the library on turn 4.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's do on the draw against Amethyst Steel now.
Mm. On the draw. Yeah, this might have to be like an aggressive sort of mulligan. Even though there is merit in keeping the double fairy ship for turn 2 instead of the Cusco to just like waste their time, but they are playing purple. Purple has Fox and Crab, so it's not as strong compared to maybe that play on other decks. So
Right.
I think we definitely want to find a 1-drop character, and I'm thinking I'm gonna mulligan aggressively to do so. So, Dragonfire, of course. I think I'm going all locations back, and the friends, and we'll keep the brawl just because we do need to play more defensively compared to other matchups in this game,
Yeah.
early game. So we'll keep the brawl just in case they, just get a super good curve into a Genie.
And Brawl's especially strong on the draw as opposed to on the play too, since you're on the
Yeah.
reactionary side. So I can get behind that, and we are rewarded
Okay.
with exactly what you wanted with some 1-drops.
Yeah. I mean, there's what 11 1-drops, so I would hope that, and that's not including the fairy ship, which we also got. So,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, I'd probably ink fairy ship turn 1, go followers, and then Cusco, Sisu, and then just kind of go from there.
Got it. Okay. Uh, we have time for about one more deck here. Which deck would you like to show the viewers how to alter the hand against? Any other matchups you want to see?
Mm. That's tough because those are definitely the top 3. What else?
Emerald Steel, Steel Song.
We could do Steel Song. I think
Okay.
that's a tough one.
Yeah, let's do Steel Song on the play.
Okay, so thankfully we got our 4 health buddies over here, so that's great. Um, I'd honestly maybe throw back the. Hmm, I think well, crab with the queen is really strong. That's a cool synergy that I like. Um, so we go 1 drop into queen, and then maybe I want to give myself the choice depending on what they do. So I would throw back the redundant crab, Sisu, and the rabbit, and then uh,
Both
maybe I keep both
Sisus?
Sisus
Oh,
actually.
okay.
I think I just throw the redundant crab and the rabbit away. And because we just want to go for like stats as much as possible early
Right.
game here. So I mean, if we can find a brawl, that's nice. Um, and then just kind of maybe anything else. I would even. This is a matchup where I actually do like playing go early and go on 4.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So we also get the. So we have a couple options for turn 3. It'll be hard for them to get rid of the queen. So queen can put online, fox, crab, or line us up and let us do sisu. So I'm not mad at this.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Let's do Steel Song on the draw now. Ooh, I'm liking this one already.
That's a lot of purple. um, yeah, I mean this is like a pretty much like guaranteed fox play, I'd say. Because you can go 1 drop into double 1 drop. And unless they have like a very specific curve, they can't get rid of like all 3. Um, so I think maybe I just throw the rabbit back, and like Cusco could be ink if anything, and then that's about it. And like I said, I like playing go on 4 just because the stats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and now we also got a crab line. Yeah, man. I wish these mulligans happened to me all the time. I
Yeah.
know it's not gonna happen at locals tonight.
Hey, it feels nice to say I'm going for this and then actually getting it when we're doing these reviews though.
Yeah,
So um
yeah, most
well,
def.
I appreciate having you on and finally getting to meet you, I guess, here. And this has been really helpful as I have not had any experience on Ruby Amethyst this set. So I've learned a lot today, and I appreciate you coming out. Is there anything you want to plug before we wrap things up here?
Um, I mean, just like the typical, I guess I have my YouTube channel, LSP Terrace, and then I also have, you can just search up either LSP Terrace or Taris Black on Twitter as well. Those are my main 2 socials that I post on. Been trying to get really consistent on just posting more, get myself out there.
Got it. Well, once again, thank you for joining us. And to the viewers, we'll see you all next week with another episode of Alter Academy. Thanks, guys.